What were these pole parking meters from the time of the lost gods? Renato had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop. It would do. Opulus. Vulpus Major. Lando Nardo. Well, he just wished he had a better name. He missed Lupino's bitter outburst. Or did he? Lupino had gotten him into this mess, hadn't he? The core was a wonderful weapon. It swept fire across the fleet. Ravens exploded in its gaze, and with every heartbeat, it grew brighter. He would die. But he would die every inch a hero. Spectacularly, changing history like the legendary heroes of lore. Or was it yore? He couldn't remember anymore. Renato felt a little better. Sorry, mustache, thought Renato. Renato fell to his knees. The Emperor's bodyguards were lined up before his ship, fierce ravens all, and Zenobia. She was conjuring. He could not take another step. All he could do was fire the core. The ravens, Zenobia, the ship, all burst into flames, disintegrated, and blew away. So they had one, after all. The core grew brighter. He shielded his eyes, but he could still see it through his sleeves and through the flesh of his arm. And then he felt heat, as the fire grew to consume both fleets. And then he felt nothing. Okay, that was weird. He could have sworn he'd just died. Instead, he was on the Farfarer, sailing away from Ubar. And it was still burning. He'd fled burning Ubar. Had all those years fighting the Empire been nothing but a vision into the future? A useful vision if it was true. He'd learned something. The core was powerful, but dangerous if used improperly. He'd made bad choices. But now, when the real battle came, he wouldn't make those choices. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The book's pages began to flip backwards, towards the beginning. And he realized that his adventure was just beginning. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game-changer. Pieces of the Skyripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Skyripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game-changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? The island was windswept dead. Every child could sing verses about the Skyripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in a buried temple, another ancient item that was only resurfacing now, drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? This chest was filled with reprints of the entire Sandman series. Reprints! What was the point of collecting those? Ooh, and there was something else. Distrusted doors that opened automatically, especially after being buried for millennia. Was this some sort of trap? Don't go away. already here. Cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. And he hadn't come too late. It was definitely easier to fight inanimate objects. Hero wall. Hero sword. Ice wall. Ice. Hewn. What else could you hook? Oh, sweet! A gem. All he needed now was a workbench, and he could slot it into his gauntlet. Everybody knew you shouldn't trust a raven further than you could throw her. Like the vertical drop count. Ravens, at least, could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders. He wasn't that good. Yet. for global warming. It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. I can make you mighty. Who said that? Give me blood. It was the stone. Eager, thirsty. Kill the Emperor's daughter. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and Renato wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "Not the core," said the stone anxiously. "Feed me death, and I will give you the power to do what you want." Why was he listening to a talking rock? As he placed the impossibly black crystal in his gauntlet, Renato had a sudden vision. Charred fields covered in dead ravens below a black sun. Was it the time of the lost gods before the transcendent Emperor? Was it the future? These souls, it whispered. All right, this was going to be in. If only he had some way to break the ice, or convince it he was a friend. Didn't your mother tell you it's rude to stare? Snapped Renato, a little smug. was new. Most people still use doorknobs. Zenobia was waiting for an... This sword from the frigid north was really useful for making popsicles and birdicles. You shall not pass! The ravens on Zenobia's island were no match for Reynardo. They screamed as the stones sucked out their souls, and with each death, he felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one. Now her eyes were wide, frightened. He didn't like seeing her this way. Kill her, whispered the stone. You cannot win your rebellion without it. Please. No, said Zenobia. Not that way. Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be? Reynardo... Reynardo felt a little sick. Ever since Zenobia had taken the stone from him, he'd felt an ache that wouldn't go away. He missed it. He wanted it back. He needed it back. Why hadn't he killed her when he had the chance? She was the enemy. He hadn't even seen her in 14 years. Why had he hesitated? You're a sucker for an empowered woman. Reynardo kicked himself. Don't make that mistake again. I'll just have a dash, thought Reynardo. It was all coming back to him. He wondered what he'd remember next. and more extraordinary. Zenobia thought the stone was evil. Was it? He longed to have it back. He'd felt so good killing ravens with it. And yet, he'd felt unclean ever since he'd touched it. She confused him. She'd made him want to be a better fox. And then she'd abandoned him, never telling him she was the Emperor's daughter. Never contacting him since. Well, who was she to tell him the stone was evil? Sometimes, Renata really hated inanimate objects. And while he was trying to recover the stone Zenobia had taken from him, the Imperial fleet was tightening its grip. He might fail to save the rebellion, and it would all be her fault. Bernardo felt a burst of outrage. Not only had she stolen his gem, she'd also stolen his scientists. Sure, they were neutral, but they had helped him discover what the Emperor was up to. They were supposed to be helping me, Bernardo thought. So unfair. Energy spheres. Easy to dodge, but boy did they sting if you didn't pay attention. Boy, some people were just liable to explode if you upset them. Chill out. Imagine if you built a house on one of these things. Oh, that would be amazing. It would be like having a boat. The scientist's toes were pointing arcane instruments at the stone and looking at it through prisms. Mine, said Renato as he took back the stone.
Well, we need it for science.
Then, a far-speaker toad croaked in something like Zenobia's voice.
Renato, leave the stone with the toads. It will swallow your soul. You'll kill everyone you love.
But Renato had an army to lead, an empire to bring down. Ah, the ruins. Renato had come there as a kid when it was still the fabulous city of Ubar, before the Emperor's ravens had come to pillage ancient books from its library